I have a question. I tried to do this, to deal with this off the meeting time, but, the board left me no choice. I've been questioning this issue with the sewer plant issue for months now, 6 months, and I've had 8 to 9 months of information on it. And I was requesting through Right to Know, basically for the board to prove its statements, what from February and from March. And I asked for communications, and I waited to not only until
Didn't you do a Right to Know?
I did, and the Office of Open Records, the Township denied me, said they provided me with a few communications that had nothing really definitive to justify the position of the board. So I appealed this process.
The position of the board was that the documents don't exist.
Okay, so here's the concern that I have, because again, last month when I stated that the board is really kind of sometimes unresponsive to questions, I waited until after the appeal was decided upon before I asked the board a question, and the board chose to essentially not respond to me again, and it was suggested to as a whole. The
manager responded to you on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, and that was explained to you that the manager
Correct.
Oftentimes
but the board said
emails,
for him to do this.
Residents' comments, takes residents' questions.
Right, but here's the problem.
On behalf of the board, that is one of the managers.
I was not communicating with the township manager at the time. I was communicating with my elected officials.
Right, and the elected officials have the right, and often it's the case, to have the manager respond on their behalf. Especially when the question has already been answered.
Okay, but a right to know request is not a question. It is not a question,
you're right,
and that's
right. But the right to know request answered the question that you asked the board.
The right to know request did not answer my question that I posed to the board. It did not.
Maybe not.
Because here's I asked for what was the catalyst, what began this process, and I asked for the board to show me. And there was nothing, not one communication, not one, to justify this $14 million we're talking about. I went through the appeal process. I asked the board, have you ever sent an email regarding safety, maintenance, and so forth? It was a simple question of my elected officials. And the reason I didn't include our township manager was because I was interested in...
You did a Right to Know on that.
No, you cannot ask a question.
But you asked.
You cannot ask a question.
Right to know.
What I asked for was any and all email communications. The question I asked was if they ever sent, over that time frame, any communications to help the board to justify what it said in February and in March.
That was the same question.
And nothing was provided. So, again, what was the catalyst to begin this whole odyssey from a year ago? Because the evidence does not support the claims made by the Board of Supervisors. It does not.
To you, Mr. Case.
No, it does not, and it's not just to me.
Well, it may not, but those are
I was asked,
situations that we're not going to discuss.
I was asked, who's telling me information? And I told you guys I don't need to tell you, I'm not going to tell you. Now, some of those people have said, go ahead. You can now reference us. At that meeting where that question was asked of me, the board was handed a paper that was outlined by Mr. J.Justthe at that very meeting where I was bringing these issues up. J.Justthe was a 42-year township employee. This was handed to the board that very evening.
We saw it.
And
who's retired.
He brought up these issues that I have been discussing all along. That the narrative that the townships are being told, the residents are being told about what occurred at that plant, and the fact that people are actually fearful of losing their job. It's not only been laid out by him, it's been laid out by also other employees, Bob Gallagher, numerous.
They haven't been here for a year.
No, they actually retired in January.
Yeah.
So, but that's irregardless, because they were there at the time when this all went
What
down.
employees are telling you?
What's that?
So how are they're somebody telling you what they feel?
No, these are-
Talking to our people?
These are people who, the chief operator of the plant, the assistant manager
From last
of the
year.
facility, who were there at the time when this was all going down. Not only that, but the DEP records don't show that there was issues. Linda Poole was invited out. Where's that report?
Mr. Casey, a lot of what you're trying to get the board to do, let me say something, okay? A lot of what you're continually every month wanting the board to do is to get into personnel issues.
Nope, not at all.
Yes, you are. That is exactly what you're
I
doing.
want to know
And
the
the board
catalyst.
is not going to do that. We've said that over and over.
It's
and
not
over
a
again.
person-
You need to
okay.
respect the fact that the employees of the township, their matters in their work environment is not something that should be publicly discussed and aired. It's something that as a board supervisor, that's one of their roles, and with the manager, that's one of the roles the board has. And that's not an appropriate topic for a public discussion. So some of the
Why
things
would-
that they learned through being a member of board of supervisor, having issues come to them about personnel issues, are not something that they're gonna air to the whole public.
Right,
It's not
but
gonna
see,
happen.
they,
You're not gonna find
okay,
out about it.
we are being asked to have expenditures of close to $14 million
That
with
has not
no,
been decided yet.
with no justification. That's what we're being asked. There
You're not
is,
being asked anything. The authority, when the time is appropriate, will have a budget and will analyze whether capital repairs have to be made. At that time, any member of the public will have the opportunity to go to the authority meetings and voice, listen to what's being considered, listen to what a consulting engineer is recommending be done, and make their points be known to the authority. That's not something that this board is getting involved in.
okay, I'm asking my elected officials, if I can't, if a member of this community cannot ask a direct question of you, then what is the recourse for that? Because that's exactly what I was told last month by the board chairman, that we respond back to you. Well, when I asked the question, that was not a right to know request. It was a very simple question. The right to know request was looking for actual information. The request,
For any emails between,
actual information, right to know request. My question was, did you ever send an email? Not what the content of it was, but here's the problem, and the board has come to my attention, that the board was not given all the information with regards to what I provided to the appeals process. In my appeals process, I was provided with information that clearly shows communications between township employees and township management with regards that would have fallen under my right to know request. So your right to know officer signs an affidavit stating nothing else exists, tells you I lost the appeal, but does not provide the board with the information contained in that appeal.
she's saying that something existed that he didn't.
So here's, I'm saying that,
Penalty of law, Mr. Casey, you understand that?
That's-
oh, I understand it completely, and I'm wondering if you do.
My personal and my professional life.
I'm wondering if you do. And that's why I asked my elected officials.
Wait, I'm tired, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yes, no.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, she didn't.
I asked a question of the board. Did you ever send an email, ever, once, about any of this? Over 15 years. 15 years,
Yep.
no one ever did. It's a simple question. If the sky was falling, gentlemen, and things were as bad as were reported in February and March, there's not one communication.
You would have gotten it.
Does anybody use their personal cell phones to communicate on township stuff? Was that looked into?
Two of the board members were brand new in
Right.
January. I don't know why you think there's these massive
It's
documents.
not about the
It's not
see, you're missing the point.
Tom,
You're missing the point. We're talking about 15 years.
Are issued a township email. That's what we search. As soon as they take office, I admonish them to never ever use any other email address except their township issued email, which we searched.
Okay.
And you received every document that we had.
Then explain to me why I have, and the board did not receive, when you responded back to them, why did they not receive what I provided to the OOR office, the Right to Know office? Why?
Well, I don't understand what you mean. We were,
Because I clearly showed emails, and that's why Mr. Lalonde got so upset when he realized who gave me these emails. So I'm curious to know why it wasn't provided to the board.
So, Tom, let me get you correctly, because I want to make sure that I'm getting this right. You're saying that you did a right-to-know request for emails regarding communications.
Any and all communications regarding safety, maintenance, and upgrade issues regarding the sewer plant
From the board.
for a 15-year time frame
Okay, from the board, township.
from the Right to Know officer.
and
Okay.
we knew about that.
And did you, you included Casey Lalonde in that request, or just Board of Supervisors?
No, I never requested anything from the Board of Supervisors.
Were you just saying any communications at all?
No, I asked for employees, management, supervisors.
Okay, so the gang.
That's what I asked for.
All right.
And I have that information. I have actual emails from township employees to managers. And when I asked you this question and this discussion went back and forth, were you provided with what I provided to the Right to Know office with regards to my evidence to prove that there are other communications out there? If he signed an affidavit, because you gotta,
Tom, why was your appeal denied then if you provided all this?
because the Right to Know office, the affidavit you signed,
Right.
they are bound to accept that as gospel. And that is why I lost. Not because of any other reason. So here's the thing.
My understanding, because my office handled the appeal and assisted with the response. The documents that he provided in his appeal were not responsive to the request that he made. So they were not as if they were,
Yes, they were.
aha, here's documents that should have been provided because they're responsive.
Sure they were.
There's, like I said.
They were from, there was emails from Casey to Tina. There was emails where supervisors, both past and present, were included as CCs on these emails regarding issues about safety and maintenance. There's an email in there with regard specifically to the operations manual that had to do with maintenance issues. I mean, these are things that I don't know why when there's an issue with the Right to Know officer, and I waited, mind you, I did not do this before that appeal was decided. I waited until after it was decided so that there would be no conflict to answer a simple question from elected officials to a resident. That was my question. I wasn't asking what was in them, because here's the thing. I think there might be some miscommunication. I don't care what's in the emails. All I was trying to do was to help the board, the township, justify its position that these things were so necessary that we took swift action, but yet there's not one shred of proof of it.
That you've seen.
But I've also had other communications with other township employees, people that work there, people that know this stuff. The DEP has never had a problem with it. Linda Poole was out. Did she find deficiencies in the plant?
What DEP even does down there. Do you want to have Mike and Dave?
They have never cited the facility.
said they
As a
did.
matter of fact, Mike Arnold had a question about this. Mike Arnold, who was the chair of the authority at the time. What are you guys talking about? Jack DeHaven, Bob Gallagher, these guys all of them have no idea what's going on down there. Not only that, but now they're also saying that nothing happened. There was no issues until the board came in, until specifically Casey Lalonde.
There are two sides to every story.
No, but
You don't have the whole
Which we
story.
can't discuss.
That's my point
okay.
about personnel issues
We can't discuss
being,
those.
the board being privy to, that members
But
of the
again-
public are not.
Right.
The
You're trying to
board-
put together half the puzzle.
the board is asking
Well, you had your chance.
that we have to trust it.
We can't.
Not
Never
hard to
mind.
discuss.
Not about employment, not about
But it all
employment,
is
but about
tied in. It's all
documentation.
Fine.
It's all tied
And-
together.
You blamed
No, that's
You blamed Doc White, you blamed John
Don't
Scott.
go there.
You blamed
Huh?
other personnel who were fired.
Nobody was fired. Todd was fired.
Tom,
You know, if
Tom,
I'm getting,
no one was blamed.
really? Because I have the recordings, Doug. I mean, I can let you listen to them.
And there was reports.
It's very clear what was being said.
That will never be public.
It was very clear.
Short of a court.
Well, that's not true either. And I told you that a month ago, and you didn't want to believe me then.
What's that?
I can easily get this information.
What's that?
Any of this information I'm seeking. For instance, the Todd Manny unemployment thing, I have a copy of that thing because it's easy to get.
What, you're not going to be able to get the Fisher report?
You know, what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to get the board to understand that currently I have 30 days to appeal this process and go to the Court of Common Pleas. I don't want to do that.
He's way up.
I don't want to do that.
Well-
Because I don't want to waste any taxpayer dollars to continue to defend
Well, if you
this
do, you do.
nonsense.
Mr. Lalonde says he's provided everything, and we agree.
But he failed to provide this board with the evidence that I shown. No, not in my opinion. He failed to provide. Did you receive it, Phil? Did you receive the exhibits that I gave in my appeal?
No.
Did you, Mr. Pielli?
I don't recall getting that.
Mr. Purnell?
I don't remember.
Mr. Meekum? Mr. Halverson? So it's not my opinion.
Well,
It's a
what
fact.
do you want? Your opinion is that there wasn't enough, the right information was provided to you.
No, I was looking for all of it. Not the
All of
content
what?
of it, but to prove what you guys were saying.
Okay, I'm done.
And it wasn't, I got nothing. And yet, I have emails that were provided to me from an outside source that clearly show that there were these communications, and I could literally go to the Court of Common Pleas, put you all on the stand, and ask you a very simple question. And I'm asking the board right now, I don't want to do this. If you know that you received or sent an email regarding any of this over a 15-year time span, he signed an affidavit.
Yep, I'm good with it.
I mean, is that where we're at?
I guess we'll see you come, please.
Okay,
Okay.
anything else?
We adjourn.
Second.
Well, that really is not the way you respond to community members. It really isn't.
No, but that's the point, that's the question he wants answered. You want it, I mean, there's,
No, I think he was saying, are you putting all your...
You answered my question with that statement, Phil.
Yes, you
whatever
were.
question you had answered, that's what my response is. Take us to Tom, please.
Jess, will we be discussing the termination of the sewer authority in 2018 as bonds as well?
There was no bond.
No, the notes will be paid off. At some point in time, the lease is terminated.
Well, the lease can be renegotiated at the time, so there's two
Right.
recordings.
Yeah, the authority could
And
issue.
Miss White, are you recording? Because the board adjourned, you need to turn that off. It's not a- That's-
You know, the margin,
Sorry.
we can always discuss that.
Yeah.
You know, that's always
We'll talk to you.
going to be a possibility.